Hello and welcome to the Adventures of LBZ. I am Lance Collins, and in today's video I'm going to do basically a day in the life of a Honda tech. Just what goes on sometimes whenever we're working on things. This isn't the same thing that I do every day, but yeah, this is fun stuff. If you're new to this channel, please consider hitting the subscribe button. Also, if you like this video, hit the like button. So what I'm working on is, this is a 2006 Honda CRF 150F. This customer, I guess, let somebody else work on their this machine, and they were supposed to do a carb clean and some other things, and turns out the carb clean that they did was spraying like automotive carb cleaner down the carburetor without even taking it off there. And basically what it did is it melted the inside of the intake flange that is on this head right now, and that rubber stuck the intake valve open. And yeah, the bike, it actually ran the rest of the day with it hung up in there, and I guess caused some heat issues. But whenever they shut it off finally and tried to start it back up, it didn't want to start because it wasn't making any compression, because the intake valve was held open by a giant piece of rubber from the intake boot. So this head, I have already ran it through the parts cleaner. I've tried to get as much carbon off of the inside of the head as I could. Of course, there's some staining in the actual casting on it, but yeah, I got it cleaned up. I got the gasket material off there, and now what I'm doing is I've put the spring seats down on there, and I just installed the new valve seals, and I'm going to go ahead and put the exhaust valve in with the spring, and then the spring keeper top and the keepers. And we'll go ahead and use the spring compressor, or valve spring compressor, to put that down and put the keepers in. But yeah, as you can see, we've already cleaned off the material off the head. Looks like somebody's already had this thing off there before, and done some work to it there, and looks like they put some swirls in the head. Nothing was leaking before. I just cleaned it off there. I think it's going to seal up just fine. But yeah, we'll go ahead, we'll get these valves installed into the head, and we'll go from there. I've already also lapped these valves into the seats. Earlier, whenever I was jibber-jabbering there, I had the valves held up, and you could see the actual ring around there where I've already seated the valves to the angle in the head. Now I'll just go ahead and install these keepers on, and we'll go from there. And what I'm doing here is I'm getting a little bit of grease on the end of a angled screwdriver, and basically the little keepers that hold the valve in, I'm putting a little bit of grease on both sides, and then I'll drop it in and stick it to where the groove is on the valve, and put the other one in, do the same thing, a little grease on both sides of it, and that just keeps them in place. And then you can release these, the actual compressor tool, and the keepers won't move, and they'll stay right there where they need to be on the lock. And yep, you can move on to installing the intake valve. And I'll repeat the same process on the intake valve there. Um, Basically, I'd already put the spring seat on, then I had installed the valve seal, then I put the spring on, and then I put the spring top keeper on, and then now I'm putting the compressor on there. Going to compress the spring down and put the valve keepers in and do the same thing. I'll take a little grease and dab on both sides of the keeper, put it into the lock on the actual valve itself, and we'll then release it, and both valves will be completely installed into the head. And now I'll go ahead and remove that intake flange off there and install the new one with the new O-ring. I'll go ahead and clean this up here. I think I have like a little, yeah, it's right. I got this little guy out here. So knock it off there without damaging or taking any material off. And kind of polishes it up there. And you don't really use a whole lot of it, or you just barely get it going, and that cleans it off there. And then I'll put the new flange on and torque the bolts down. I believe those bolts were torqued to, let's see, those were 126 inch-pounds. And I was showing the service advisor the bottom of the head there, and also that's the intake flange, and you can see where the piece of that rubber that I was holding, showing them there, had got sucked into the intake and was stuck in the valve and basically holding it open there. And like I said, there was a couple little spots on the head that were questionable, but there was no leaks or anything, so I think we're going to be good to go on that. Now what I'm going to do is remove the skid plate. This one's got a 12 and 2 10s. Not too sure if that's supposed to be like that. I can't remember. But yeah, it had, as you can see, I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell? But yeah, I get the back 2 10s off, and then I remove the drain bolt, drain the oil, because I have to remove the left side cover and put a new cam chain in it. Not sure if you saw how easy that glove just ripped. Sweet piece of imported crap. Uh, anyways, yeah, we'll get back to draining this oil here and removing this side cover. And this may be a little OCD, but you know, you got to clean up some of the tools sometimes in the middle of the job so that you're not accidentally throwing stuff away or knocking it behind a bench when you don't see it. But yeah, I went ahead and I put some stuff away. I'm going to go ahead and move that head because I went through the parts. You didn't get to see there because I had somebody talking to me on camera. But I went through the parts and realized that the wrist pin for the piston did not show up. So I'm not going to be able to put the rest of the top end together, but I'll go ahead and start the, I'll still keep pulling the cam chain out. I'll pull the flywheel off. You'll see me struggle on that. For some dumb reason, I put the new cam chain on, forgot to put the cam chain, keeper. There's a bottom keeper that keeps it in line. And then after I'd already bolted the flywheel back down, I looked and saw it was on there. So I'll leave that in there. I'm not going to cut it out. Shit happens. Sometimes, you got to take it back off and redo it again. Luckily, I'm not that far into this, and I realized that whenever I looked down on my metal tray there, that piece was there, and I was able to pull the flywheel right back off and put that piece in there, lock the cam chain in place, and then move on. Now that I've got all the 8mm bolts out of that side piece or case there, I'll tap it just a little bit with the dead blow, and that'll knock it free. It's got some dowel pins, and there's a gasket that kind of stick it there to the case. So, and also you have the flywheel that is magnetic to the stator that's behind there, so it likes to pull on it. As you can see there, also the gear for the starter reduction. It when you pull it out, sometimes the pin will stick in one side of the case, and it will pull out of the actual gear itself. Not a biggie. Whenever you go to assemble it back on there, you can just push it back in. So, yeah, we'll go ahead. I'll get my flywheel puller out. I'll pull, I think that was either a 19 or had to have been a 17 millimeter center bolt there, and then put the flywheel puller on there. It might have been a 19 now that I think about it, actually. But anyways, we'll pull the flywheel off. I'll pull the two 10mm bolts out below that keep the cam chain in line. Pull the cam chain out, put the new one on, and then we'll go ahead and you can watch me struggle putting the flywheel on, and then realizing that I don't have that cam chain guide follower piece at the bottom on, taking it back apart again, putting that on with the two 10mm, torquing those bolts down to 84 inch-pounds, and then proceeding to put the flywheel back on. And I actually forgot to hit the button because I had to clean the gasket off of the side cover, and I thought I hit the button to record, and I didn't. And so I don't think I have any of the removal of the gasket or putting the new gasket on. I think I just went straight back to torquing the cover on. So, sorry about that. Sometimes whenever you're covered in grease, you forget to do stuff, or maybe I was thinking I didn't want to get the camera dirty or something at the time, and whatever. The rest of my day is there. And now that I realized, I actually cut out the part of pulling the flywheel back off the second time there, because for some reason I must have bumped the camera and it was pointing up, and I just went ahead and cut that piece out because it was not focused on what I was doing. And I'm just running these bolts back down until they stop. I go back and torque them to 84 inch-pounds. And like I say, the part that had me putting the new gasket on, I put a little bit of Honda Bond to stick the gasket to the cover so it wouldn't slide around. There's also dowel pins on there, but yeah, I put a little bit of Honda Bond there. There's a rubber spot where the stator meets the side cover, and you could just put a little glaze there of the Honda Bond on it, and then you go back through and torque them all to 84 inch-pounds, and that part of putting the cam chain on is done. And now I'll go ahead and put a new drain plug washer on here. Pop this one up here, get my cutters out, give it a little cut, pull the washer off, put the new one on there, tighten that back on there so it's ready to go whenever I do get the top end back together, and put the oil in it. But that is going to be it for this video. I'm not going to bore you with too much more of it here. I ended up not having all the parts I needed to finish this particular job, and yeah, so I'm just going to leave it there with this one. I'll finish this video out with whatever's left on this particular shot. If you are new to this channel, please consider hitting the subscribe button. Also, if you like this video, hit the like button. As always, thanks and have a great day.